11:30 p.m. St. Paul's Cathedral. Weather torrential. They say it has blown over from Spain. Nothing of note yet tonight. A scattering of glottal stops, 4 dreary diphthongs, a dozen monotonous monophthongs, and 34 tortured triphthongs. I persevere in the hope of some exotic epentheses or a lesser spot of illusion, as the opera crowd is forced to share the pavement with the Covent Garden rabble to avoid the downpour. A brightly plumaged pair approaches. I will retreat to my granite hide and listen.
What on earth is Freddy doing all this time? He's been gone 20 minutes.
Not so long, but he ought to have got his cab like this.
He won't get no cab till 11:30, missus, when they come back after dropping their theatre fares.
But we must have a cab. We can't stand here until 11:30. It's too bad.
Well, it ain't my fault, missus.
If Freddy had a bit of gumption, he would have got one at the theatre door.
What could he have done, poor boy?
Other people got cabs. Why couldn't he? Well, did you got us a cab?
I wasn't one to be had for love or money.
Oh, Freddy, there must be one. You can't have tried.
It's too tiresome. Do you expect us to go and get one ourselves?
I tell you, they're all engaged. The rain was so sudden, nobody was prepared, and they all had to take a cab. I've been to Charing Cross one way and nearly to Ludgate Circus the other. And I tell you, they're all engaged.
Did you try Trafalgar Square?
There wasn't one at Trafalgar Square.
Did you try?
I tried as far as Charing Cross Station. Did you expect me to honestly?
You haven't tried at all.
You really are very helpless, Freddy. Go again. And don't come back until you've found a cab.
She simply gets soaked for nothing.
What about us? Are we stay here all night under this draft? You selfish pig.
Fine, I'll go.
No, listen where you're going there.
Sorry.
These menace for you. 2 bunches of voilets stood in the mud.
How do you know that my son's name is Freddy, pray?
Or is your son, is it? Well, you've done your duty by the mother should. He no better than spoil up all those flowers and then run away about crying. Will you pay me for them?
Do nothing of the sort, mother. The idea?
Please allow me, Clara. Have you any penny?
No, I have nothing smaller than 6 pence.
I can give you change for tennis, my lady.
Give it to me. Now, this is for your flowers.
Thank you kindly, lady.
I can't give you the chance. These things are only a penny a bunch.
Do hold your tongue, Clara. You may keep the change.
Oh, thank you, lady.
Now tell me how you know that young gentleman's name.
I didn't.
I heard you call him by it. Don't try to deceive me.
Who's trying to deceive you? I called him Freddy or Charlie. Never seem like yourself if you was talking to a stranger and wished to be pleasant.
Thanks thrown away. Really, Mama? You might have to spare Freddy that.
Oh, sir, is there any sign of it stopping?
I'm afraid not. It started worse than ever about 2 minutes ago.
Oh, dear.
If it's worse, it's a sign it's nearly over. So cheer up, Captain, and bath down like a poor girl.
I'm sorry. I haven't any change.
I can give you change, Captain.
For a sovereign, I've nothing less.
Yeah, oh, do buy a flower of me, Captain. I can change half a crown. Here, take this for 2pence.
Now, don't be troublesome. There's a good girl. I really have no change. Stop. Here's free halfpence, if that's any use to you.
Thank you, sir.
You be careful, give him a flower for it. There's a bloke here taking down every blessed word you're saying.
I ain't done nothing wrong by speaking to the gentleman. I've a right to sell flowers if I keep off the curb. I'm a respectable girl, so I never spoke to him except to ask him to buy a flower off me.
Oh, stop your hollering, you only make it worse.
Have some sense, girl.
Who's hurting you? Nobody's going to touch you. What's the good of huffing?
Don't charge me, you don't know what it means to me. They'll take away my character and drive me on the streets for speaking to gentlemen.
Oh, there. Who's hurting you, you silly girl? What do you take me for?
It's alright, he's a gentleman. Look at his boots. She thought he was a copper's narc.
What is a copper's narc?
It's a copper's narc, as you might say. What else would you call it? Sort of informant.
I'll take my Bible. I never said a word.
Oh, shut up. Do I look like a policeman?
What do you take down my words for? How do I know whether you took me down right? Just you show me what you wrote about me. What's that? I ain't proper writing. I can't read that.
I can. Cheer up, Captain, and buy a flower off a poor girl.
Because I call him Captain. I meant no harm. Sir, don't end their charge against me for a word like that.
Charge? I make no charge. Really, sir, if you are a detective, you need not begin protecting me against any molestation by young women until I ask you. Anybody could see that the girl meant no harm.
Of course they could. What business is they of yours?
And how are all your people down at Chelsea?
Who tells you my people will come from Chelsea?
Never you mind, they did. And how did you come to be so far east? You were born in Lisson Grove.
What harm is there in my living little road? Just a piece of living. Don't I have to pay 4 and 6 a week?
Oh, live what you like, but stop that noise.
Come, he can't touch you. You have a right to live where you please.
Your claim, for instance. I'd like to go into the housing question with you, I would.
I'm a good girl, I am.
Do you know where I come from?
Hoxton.
Well, who said I didn't? Blimey, you know everything you do.
I ain't no call a meddle with me, he ain't.
Course he ain't. Don't you stand it for him. See here, what call have you to know about people who never offered to meddle with you? Where's your warrant? Yeah, where's your warrant?
Let him say what he likes. I don't want to have no chat with him.
You take us for dirt under your feet, don't you? Catch you taking liberties with a gentleman. Yes. Tell him where he come from if you want to go fortune telling.
Cheltenham, Harrow, Cambridge, and India?
Quite right. May I ask, sir, do you do this for your living at a music hall?
Well, I have thought of that. Perhaps someday.
No gentleman, he ain't doing the field, the poor girl.
What on earth is Freddy doing? I shall get pneumonia if I stay in this draft any longer.
Earl's Court. Yes, fine.
Will you please keep your impertinent remarks to yourself?
Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, I didn't mean to. I beg your pardon. Your mother is Epsom, unmistakably.
How very curious. I was brought up in Large Lady Park near Epsom.
What a devil of a name! Oh, excuse me. You want a cab, do you?
Don't dare speak to me.
Oh, please, please, Clara. We should be so grateful to you, sir, if you could find us a cab. Oh, thank you.
There, I knowed he was a plainclothes copper.
That ain't a policing whistle. That's a sporting whistle.
No, I'm right, I take away my character. My character's the same to me as any ladies.
I don't know if you've noticed it, but the rain stopped about 2 minutes ago.
Ah, so it did. Why didn't you say so before? And us losing our time listening to your silliness.
I can tell where you come from. You come from Hanwell. Go back there.
Hanwell.
Oh, thank you, teacher. So long. Ho, ho, ho.
Frightening people like that. How would he like it himself?
It's quite fine now, Clara. We can walk to a motor bus. Come.
But the cab? Oh, how tiresome.
Girl, I'll never live without being worried and chivied.
How do you do it, if I may ask?
Simply phonetics, the science of speech. That's my profession and also my hobby. Happy is the man who could make a living from his hobby. You can spot an Irishman or a Yorkshireman by his brogue. I can place any man within 6 miles. I can place him within 2 miles in London, sometimes within 2 streets.
I'd be ashamed of him, such an unmanly coward.
But is there a living in that?
Oh, yes, well, quite a fat one, in fact. You see, this is an age of upstarts. Men begin in Kentish Town with £80 a year and end on Park Lane with 100,000. They want to drop Kentish Town, but they give themselves away every time they open their mouths, and I can teach them.
Let him mind his own business and leave a poor girl.
Woman, cease this detestable boo-hooing instantly, or else seek the shelter of some other place of worship.
I'll be right to be here if I like, same as you.
A woman who utters such depressing and disgusting sounds has no right to be anywhere, no right to live. Remember that you are a human being with a soul and the divine gift of articulate speech, that your native language is the language of Shakespeare and Milton and the Bible. Don't sit there crooning like a bilious pigeon.
Oh.
Heavens, what a sound. Oh!
Get on.
You see this creature, with her Curbston English, the English that will keep her in the gutter till the end of her days. Well, sir, in 6 months, I could pass that girl off as a duchess at an ambassador's garden party. I could even get her work as a lady's maid or a shop assistant, which requires better English. You see, that's the sort of work I do for commercial millionaires. And on the profits of it, I do genuine scientific work in phonetics, and a little as a poet on Miltonic lines.
I am myself a student of Indian dialects.
Are you? Do you know Colonel Pickering, the author of Spoken Sanskrit?
I am Colonel Pickering. Who are you?
Henry Higgins, author of Higgins' Universal Alphabet.
I came from India to meet you.
I was going to India to meet you.
Where'd you live?
27A Wimpole Street. Come and see me tomorrow.
I'm at the Carlton. Come with me now and let's have a jar over some supper.
Right you are.
A barflow of me, kind gentleman. I'm short for my lodging.
I really haven't any change. I'm sorry.
Liar. You said you could change half a crown.
Oh, you ought to be stuck with nails, you ought. Take your bloomin' basket for 6p.
Ooh, a reminder.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
We got one!
Oh.
At last! Hello? Did you see the other two ladies that were here?
They walked to the bus when the rain stopped.
And left me with a cab on my hands. Damnation.
Never you mind, young man. I'm going home in a taxi. Eightpence ain't no object to me, Charlie. Angel Court, Drury Lane, round the corner of Michael John's oil shop. Let's see how fast you can make it office.
Well, I'm dashed.
I think that's the whole show.
It's really amazing. I haven't taken half of it in, you know.
Oh, would you like to go over any of it again?
No, thank you. I'm quite done up for this morning.
Tired of listening to sounds?
It's a fearful strain. I rather fancied myself because I could pronounce 24 distinct vowel sounds, but your 130 beat me. Can't hear a bit of a difference between them.
Oh, that comes with practice. Why, you hear no notice at first, but you keep on listening, and then you find they are all as different as A from B. What's the matter?
A young woman wants to see you, sir.
A young woman? What does she want?
Well, sir, she says you'll be glad to see her when you know where she's come about. She's quite a common girl. Very common indeed. I should have sent her away. Only I thought perhaps you wanted her to talk into your machines. I hope I've done nothing wrong. But really, you see such queer people sometimes. You'll excuse me, I'm sure.
No. That's all right, Mrs. Pierce. Has she an interesting accent?
Oh, something dreadful, sir. I don't know how you can take an interest in it.
Let's have her up. Show her up, Mrs. Pierce.
Very well, sir. It's for you to say.
Well, this is rather a bit of luck. I'll show you how I make records. We'll set her talking, and then I'll take her down first in Bell's visible speech, then in broadromic, and then you can get her on the phonograph and turn her on as often as you'd like with the written transcript before you.
This is the young woman, sir.
Why, this is the girl I jotted down last night. Well, she's no use. I've got all the records I want of the Liston Grove lingo, and I'm not going to waste another cylinder on it. Be off with you, girl. I don't want you.
Don't you be so saucy. You ain't heard what I come for yet. Did you tell him I come in a taxi?
Nonsense, girl. What do you think a gentleman like Mr. Higgins cares what you came in?
Oh, he half proud. Well, he ain't above giving lessons, not him. I heard him say so. Well, I ain't come here to ask for any compliment, and if my money's not good enough, I can go elsewhere.
Good enough for what?
Good enough for you. Now you know, don't you? I'm come to have lessons, I am. And I pay for them too, make no mistake.
Oh, well, I don't know what you expect me to say.
Well, if you was a gentleman, you might ask me to sit down, I think. Now I tell you, I'm bringing you business.
Pickering, shall we ask this baggage to sit down, or shall we throw her out of the window?
Oh, I won't be called a baggage when I've offered to pay like any lady.
What is it you want, my girl?
I want to be a lady in a flower shop, instead of selling at the corner of Tottenham Court Road. But they won't take me unless I can talk more genteel. He said he could teach me. Well, here I am, ready to pay him, not asking any favour, and he treats me as if I was dirt.
How can you be such a foolish girl as to think you could afford to pay Mr. Higgins?
Why shouldn't I? I know what lessons cost as well as you do, and I'm ready to pay.
How much?
And now you're talking. I thought you'd come off it when you saw a chance of getting back a bit of what you chucked at me last night. You'd had a drop in, hadn't you?
Sit down.
Oh, well, if you're going to make a compliment of it...
Sit down!
Sit down, girl. Do as you're told.
Oh!
Won't you sit down?
Don't mind if I do.
What's your name?
Liza Doolittle.
Eliza. Elizabeth, Betsy and Bess went to the woods to get a bird's nest.
They found a nest with 4 eggs in it.
They took 1 apiece and left 3 in it.
Oh, don't be silly.
You mustn't speak to the gentleman like that.
Well, why won't he speak sensible to me?
Oh, don't come back to business. How much do you propose to pay me for these lessons?
Oh, I know what's right. A lady friend of mine gets French lessons for 18p an hour from a real French gentleman. Well, you wouldn't have the face to ask me the same for teaching me my own language as you would for French. So I won't give more than a shilling. Take it or leave it.
You know, Pickering, if you consider a shilling not as a simple shilling, but as a percentage of this girl's income, it works out as fully equivalent to 60 or 70 guineas from a millionaire.
How so?
Well, figure it out. Well, a millionaire earns about £150 a day. She earns half a crown.
Yeah, who told you I only...
She offers me 2/5 of her day's income for a lesson. 2/5 of a millionaire's income for a day would be something about £60. It's handsome. Well, by George, it's enormous. Well, it's the biggest offer I've ever had.
£60? What are you talking about? I never offered you £60.
Oh, hold your tongue.
But I ain't got £60. Oh...
Don't cry, you silly girl. Sit down. Nobody's going to touch your money.
Somebody is going to touch you with a broomstick if you don't stop snivelling. Now, sit down.
Oh, one would think you was my father.
If I decide to teach you, I'll be worse than 2 fathers to you. Here.
What's this for?
But to wipe your eyes, or to wipe any part of your face that feels moist. That is your handkerchief, and that is your sleeve. Don't you mistake one for the other if you wish to become a lady in a shop.
Hey, you give me that handkerchief. You give it to me, not to you.
I think it must be regarded as her property, Mrs. Pierce.
Serve you right, Mr. Higgins.
Higgins, I'm interested. What about the ambassador's garden party? I'll say you're the greatest teacher alive. If you make that good, I'll bet you all the expenses of the experiment you can't do it. And I'll pay for the lessons.
Oh, you are real good. Thank you, Captain.
It's almost irresistible. Well, she's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
Yeah, why ain't dirty? I washed my face and hands before I come, I did.
You're certainly not going to turn her head with flattery, Higgins.
Oh, don't say that, sir. There are more ways of turning a girl's head. And nobody can do it better than Mr. Higgins, though he may not always mean it. I do hope, sir, you won't encourage him to do anything foolish.
What is life but a series of inspired follies? Well, the difficulty is to find them to do. Never lose a chance. It doesn't come every day. I shall make a duchess of this draggle-tailed gutter snipe.
Oh.
Yes, in 6 months. But in 3, if she has a good ear and a quick tongue. I'll take her anywhere and pass her off as anything. We start today. Now. This moment. Take her away and clean her, Mrs. Pierce. Monkey brand, if it won't come off any other way. Is there a good fire in the kitchen?
Yes, but
Take all of her clothes and burn them. Ring up Whiteley or somebody for some new ones. Wrap her in brown paper until they come.
You're no gentleman, you're not to talk of such things. I'm a good girl, I am, and I know what the like of you are, I do.
We want none of your listen-grow prudery here, young woman. You've got to learn to behave like a duchess. Take her away, Mrs. Pierce. If she gives you any trouble, wallop her.
No, I'll call the police, I will.
But I've got no place to put her.
But put her in the dustbin.
Ah!
Oh, come, Higgins, be reasonable.
You must be reasonable. Mr. Higgins, really, you must. You can't walk over everybody like this.
I walk over everybody. My dear Mrs. Pierce, my dear Pickering, I never had the slightest intention of walking over anybody. All that I propose is that we should be kind to this poor girl. We've got to prepare her for her new station in life. If I did not express myself clearly, it was because I did not wish to hurt her delicacy, or yours.
Well, did you ever hear anything like that, sir?
Never, Mrs. Pierce. Never.
What's the matter?
Well, the matter is, sir, that you can't take a girl up like this, like you're picking up a pebble on the beach. On the beach, yeah.
Why not?
Why not? But you don't know anything about her. What about her parents? She may be married.
Yeah.
Well, there, as the girl very properly says, gone. Married, indeed. What, don't you know a woman of that class looks a worn-out drudge of 50 a year after she's married?
You marry me.
By George, Eliza, the streets will be strewn with men shooting themselves for your sake by the time I'm finished with you.
Nonsense, sir. You mustn't talk to her like that.
I'm going away. He's off his chump, he is. I don't want no bummies teaching me.
Oh, really? I'm mad, am I? Oh, very well, Mrs. Pierce. Well, you needn't order the clothes for her at all. Throw her out.
No, you got no right to touch me.
You see what comes from being saucy? This way, please.
I didn't want no clothes. I wouldn't have taken them. I can buy me own clothes.
You're an ungrateful, wicked girl. This is my return for offering to take you out of the gutter, dress you beautifully, and make a lady of you?
Stop, Mr. Higgins. I won't allow it. It's you that are wicked. Go home to your parents, girl, and tell them to take better care of you.
I ain't got no parents. They told me I was big enough to earn my own living and turn me out.
Where's your mother?
I ain't got no mother. Her that turned me out was my sixth stepmother. But I done without them, and I'm a good girl, I am.
Well, very well, then. What on earth is all this fuss about? Well, the girl doesn't belong to anyone. Is no use to anybody but me. You can adopt her, Mrs. Pierce. I'm sure a daughter would be a great amusement to you. Now, don't you make any more fuss. Take her downstairs and...
But what's to become of her? Is she to be paid anything? Do be sensible, sir.
Pay her whatever's necessary, but put it down in the housekeeping book. Anyway, what would she want with money? She'll have her food and her clothes, and she'll only drink if you give her the money.
Oh, you are a brute. It's a lie. Nobody ever saw the side of liquor on me.
Does it occur to you, Higgins, that the girl had some feeling?
I don't think so. No feelings that we should need bother about. Have you, Eliza?
I got my feelings, same as anyone else.
You see the difficulty.
What difficulty?
To get her to talk grammar. But the mere pronunciation is easy enough.
But I don't want to talk grammar. I want to talk like a lady.
Will you please get to the point, Mr. Higgins? I want to know on what terms the girl is to be here. Is she to have any wages? And what is to become of her once you finish with her, with your teaching? You must look ahead a little.
What is to become of her if I leave her in the gutter? Tell me that, Mrs. Pierce.
That's her own business, not yours, Mr. Higgins.
Well, when I'm done with her, we can throw her back into the gutter, and it will be her own business again. So that's all right.
You've got no feeling art in you. You don't care for nothing but yourself. Yeah, I've had enough of this. I'm going.
Have some chocolates, Eliza.
How do I know what might be in them? I've heard of girls being drugged by the like of you.
Pledge of good faith, Eliza. I eat one half, you eat the other. You shall have boxes of them, Eliza. Barrels of them every day. You shall live on them.
I wouldn't have ate it, only I'm too ladylike to take it out of my mouth.
Listen, Eliza, I think you said that you came in a taxi.
Well, what if I did? I've as good a right to take a taxi as anyone else.
You have, Eliza. And in future you shall have as many taxis as you want. You shall go up and down and round the town in them every day. Well, think of that, Eliza.
Mr. Higgins, you're tempting the girl. It's not right. She should think of the future.
At her age? Nonsense. Time enough to think of the future when you haven't a future to think of. No, Eliza, do as this lady does. Think of other people's futures, but never think of your own. Think of chocolates, and taxis, and gold, and diamonds.
No, I don't want no gold and no diamonds. I'm a good girl, I am.
You shall remain so, Eliza, under the care of Mrs. Pierce. And you shall marry an officer in the Guards with a beautiful moustache, the son of a marquis, who will disinherit him for marrying you, but he will relent when he sees your beauty and your goodness.
Excuse me, Higgins, but I really must interfere. Mrs. Pierce is quite right. If this girl is to put herself in your hands for 6 months for an experiment in teaching, she must understand thoroughly what she's doing.
But how can she? But she's incapable of understanding anything. Besides, do any of us understand what we are doing? And if we did, would we ever do it?
Very clever, Higgins, but not sound sense. Miss Doolittle.
Oh.
There! But that's all you ever get out of Eliza. No use explaining. As a military man, you ought to know that. Give her orders. That is what she wants. Eliza, you are to live here for the next 6 months, learning how to speak beautifully, like a lady in a florist's shop. If you are good and do whatever you're told, you will sleep in a proper bedroom and have lots to eat, and money to buy chocolates and to take rides in taxis. If you are naughty and idle, you will sleep in the back kitchen among the black beetles and be walloped by Mrs. Pierce with a broomstick. At the end of 6 months, you will go to Buckingham Palace in a carriage, beautifully dressed. If the king should find out that you are not a lady, you will be taken by the police to the Tower of London, where your head will be cut off as an example to other presumptuous young flower girls. If you are not found out, you shall have a present of 7 and 6pence to start life with as a lady in a shop. If you refuse this offer, you will be a most ungrateful and wicked girl, and the angels will weep for you. Now are you satisfied, Pickering? Can I put it any more plainly and fairly, Mrs. Pierce?
I think you'd better let me speak to the girl properly in private. I don't know that I can take charge of her or consent to the arrangement at all. Of course, I know you don't mean her any harm, but when you get what you call interested in people's accents, you never think or care what may happen to them or you. Come with me, Eliza.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Pierce. Bundle her off to the bathroom.
Oh, you're a great bully, you are. I won't stay here if I don't like. I won't let nobody wallop me. I never asked to go to Buckingham Palace, I didn't. I was never in trouble with the police. Not me. I'm a good girl.
Don't answer back, girl. You don't understand the gentleman. Come with me.
Well, what I say is right. I won't go near the king. Not if I'm going to have my head cut off. If I'd known what I was letting myself in for, I wouldn't have come here. I've always been a good girl. And I never offered to say a word to him. And I don't owe him nothing. And I don't care. And I won't be put upon. And I got my feelings same as anyone else.
Use a straight question, Higgins. Are you a man of good character where women are concerned?
Have you ever met a man of good character where women are concerned?
Yes, very frequently.
Well, I haven't. I find that the moment I let myself make friends with a woman, she becomes jealous, exacting, suspicious, and a damned nuisance. I find the moment that I let myself become friends with a woman, I become selfish and tyrannical. Women upset everything. When you let them into your life, you find that the woman is driving at one thing and that the man is driving at another.
At what, for example?
Lord knows. I suppose that the woman wants to live her life and the man wants to live his, and then each tries to drag the other onto the wrong track. One wants to go north, one wants to go south, and the end result is that they both end up going east when they hate the east wind. So, here am I, a confirmed old bachelor and likely to remain so.
Come, Higgins, you know what I mean. If I'm to be in this business, I shall feel responsible for the girl. I hope it's understood that no advantage is to be taken of her position.
What? That thing? Oh, sacred, I assure you. Oh, no, you see, she'll be a pupil, and teaching would be impossible unless pupils were sacred. I've taught scores of American millionairesses how to speak English, who are the best-looking women in the world. I'm seasoned. They might as well be blocks of wood. I might as well be a block of wood. It's... Oh, well, Mrs. Pierce, is she all right?
I just wish to trouble you with a word, if I may, Mr. Higgins.
Oh, certainly. Come in. Oh, don't burn that, Mrs. Pierce. I'll keep it as a curiosity.
Handle it carefully, sir, please. I had to promise her not to burn it, but had better put it in the oven for a while.
Oh, thank you. Well, what have you to say to me?
Am I in the way?
Not at all, sir. Mr. Higgins, will you please be very particular with what you say before the girl?
Of course. I am always particular about what I say. Why do you say this to me?
No, sir, you're not at all particular when you've mislaid anything or when you get a little impatient. Now, it doesn't matter before me. I'm used to it, but you really must not swear before the girl.
I swear? I never swear. I detest the habit. What the devil do you mean?
That's what I mean, sir. You swear a great deal too much. I don't mind you damning and blasting and what the devil and where the devil and who the devil.
Oh, really, Mrs. Pierce, this language from your lips.
But there is a certain word I must ask you not to use. The girl has used it herself because the bath was too hot. It begins with the same letter as bath. She knows no better. She learned it from her mother. But she must not hear it from your lips.
I cannot charge myself with ever having uttered it, Mrs. Pierce, except in a moment of extreme and justifiable excitement.
Only this morning, sir, you appealed it to your boot, to the butter, to the brown bread.
Oh, that! Mere alliteration, Mrs. Pierce. Natural to a poet.
Well, sir, whatever you choose to call it, I beg you not to use it, not to let Not to let the girl hear you say it.
Oh, very well, very well. Is that all?
No, sir. We shall be very particular with this girl as to personal cleanliness.
Ah, certainly, quite right. Most important.
I mean, not to be slovenly about it, or about her dress, or untidy in living things about.
Oh, just so. I had intended to call your attention to that. It is these little things that matter, Pickering. Take care of the pence and the pounds will take care of themselves is as true of personal habits as of money.
Yes, sir. Then might I ask you not to come down to breakfast in your dressing gown, or at any rate, not to use it as a napkin, or to the extent you do, sir. And would it be so good as to not eat everything off the same plate, and to remember not to put the porridge saucepan out of your hand on the clean tablecloth? It would be a better example for the girl. You know, you nearly choked yourself with a fishbone in the jam only last week.
I may do these things sometimes, in absence of mind, but I surely don't do them habitually. And, by the way, my dressing gown smells damnably of benzine.
No doubt it does, Mr. Higgins. But if you will wipe your fingers...
Oh, very well, very well. I will wipe them in my hair in future.
I hope you're not offended, Mr. Higgins.
Not at all. Not at all. You're quite right, Mrs. Pierce. I shall be particularly careful before the girl. Is that all?
No, sir. Might she use some of those Japanese dresses you bought from abroad? I really can't put her into her old things.
Certainly. Anything you like. Is that all?
Thank you, sir. That's all.
You know, Pickering, that woman has the most extraordinary ideas about me. Here I am, a shy, diffident sort of man. I've never really been able to feel grown up and tremendous like other chaps. And yet she's firmly persuaded that I'm an arbitrary, overbearing, bossing kind of person. I can't account for it.
If you please, sir. The trouble's beginning already. There's a dustman downstairs, Alfred Doolittle, wants to see you. He says you have his daughter here.
I say.
Send the blackguard up.
Very well, sir.
He may not be a blackguard, Higgins.
Oh, nonsense, of course he's a blackguard.
Whether he is or not, I'm afraid we shall have some trouble with him.
No, I think not. If there is to be any trouble, he shall have it with me, not I with him. And we are sure to get something interesting out of him.
About the girl?
Oh, no, I mean his dialect.
Doolittle, sir.
Professor Higgins?
Here. Good morning. Sit down.
Morning, Governor. I come here about a very serious matter, Governor.
Brought up in Hounslow, Mother Welsh, I think. What do you want, Doolittle?
Well, I want my daughter. That's what I want, see?
Of course you do. You're her father, aren't you? You don't suppose anybody else wants her, do you? I'm glad to see you have some spark of family feeling left. She's upstairs. Take her away at once.
What?
Take her away. Do you suppose I'm going to keep your daughter for you?
No, look here, Governor. Is this reasonable? Is it fair to take advantage of a man like this? Well, the girl belongs to me. You got her. Where do I come in?
Your daughter had the audacity to come to my house and ask me to teach her to speak properly so that she could become a lady in a shop. This gentleman and my housekeeper have been here the whole time. How dare you come here and attempt to blackmail me? You sent her here on purpose.
Well, no, Governor.
But you must have. How else could you possibly know that she's here?
Don't take a man up like that, Governor.
The police shall take you up. This is a plant, a plot to extort money by threats. I shall telephone for the police.
Well, have I asked you for a brass farthing? I'll leave it to the gentleman here. Have I said a word about money?
What else did you come for?
Well, what else would a man come for? Be human, governor.
Alfred, did you put her up to it?
Well, so help me, governor, I never did. I'll take my Bible oath I ain't seen the girl these 2 months past.
Well then, how did you know where she was?
Well, I'll tell you, governor. If only you'll let me get a word in. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you.
Pickering, this chap certainly has the gift of natural rhetoric. Observe the rhythm of his native wood notes wild. I'm willing to tell you. I'm wanting to tell you. I'm waiting to tell you. Sentimental rhetoric. That's the Welsh strain in him. It also accounts for his mendacity and dishonesty.
Oh, please, Higgins, I'm West Country myself. How did you know the girl was here if you didn't send her?
It was like this, governor. The girls took a boy in a taxi to give him a job. Son of a landlady he is. He hung about on the chance of giving him another ride home. Well, she sent him back for her luggage. When she heard you was willing for her to stop here, I met the boy on the corner of Longacre in Endell Street.
Public house, yes.
The poor man's club, governor. Why shouldn't I?
You let him tell his story, Higgins.
He told me what was up. And I ask you, what was my feelings and my duties as a father? I says to the boy, you bring me the luggage. And I says,
why didn't you go for it yourself?
The landlady wouldn't have trusted me with it, governor. She's that kind of woman, you know. I had to pay a penny before he trusted me with it. The little swine. I bought it to her just to oblige you, like, and make myself agreeable, that's all.
How much luggage?
Musical instrument, governor. A few pictures, a trifle of jewellery, and a birdcage. She said she didn't want no clothes. What was I to think from that, governor? I ask you, as a parent, what was I to think?
So you came to rescue her from worse than death, eh?
Ah, just so, governor, just so.
Why did you bring her luggage if you intended to take her away?
Well, have I said a word about taking her away now?
You're going to take her away, double quick.
What? No, governor, don't say that. I'm not the man to stand in my girl's light. Well, it's a career opportunity.
Mrs. Pierce, this is Eliza's father. He has come to take her away. Give her to him.
No. There's been a misunderstanding. Listen here.
He can't take her away, Mr. Higgins. How can he? You told me to burn her clothes.
That's right. I can't carry her through the streets like a blooming monkey now, can I?
You have put it to me that you want your daughter. Take your daughter. If she has no clothes, go out and buy her some.
Where are the clothes she come in? Did I burn them, or did your missus here?
I am the housekeeper, if you please. I have sent for some clothes for your girl. When they come, you can take her away. You can wait in the kitchen. This way, please.
Listen here, governor. You and me is men of the world, ain't we?
Men of the world, are we? You'd better go, Mrs. Pierce.
I think so indeed, sir.
Floor is yours, Mr. Doolittle.
I thank you, governor. Well, the truth is, I've taken a sort of fancy to you, governor. And if you want the girl, I'm not set on having her back home again. But what I might be open to is arrangement, regarded in the light of a young woman. Well, she's a fine, handsome girl. But as a daughter, she's not worth her keep. And so I'll tell you straight. All I ask for are my rights as a father. And you're the last man alive to expect me to let her go for nothing. For I can see that you are one of them straight sorts, Governor. Well, what's £5 to you? And what's Eliza to me?
I think you ought to know, Doolittle, that Mr. Higgins' intentions are entirely honourable.
Of course they are, Governor. If I thought there wasn't, I'd ask for 50.
Do you mean to say, you callous rascal, that you would sell your daughter for £50?
No, not in a general way, I wouldn't, but to oblige a gentleman like you, I'd do a good deal, I assure you.
I don't
Have you
know.
no morals, man?
Well, I can't afford them, Governor. Neither could you if you was as poor as me. Not that I mean any harm by it, but if Liza's going to have something out of this, then why not me too?
I don't know what to do, Pickering. There can be no question that as a matter of morals, it's a positive crime to give this chap a farthing. And yet, I feel a sort of rough justice in his claim.
That's it, Governor. That's all I say. A father's art, as it were.
I know the feeling, but really it hardly seems right.
Don't say that, Governor. Don't look at it that way. Why am I, Governors both? I ask you, why am I? I'm one of the undeserving poor, that's why I am. Think of what that means to a man. It means that he's up against middle-class morality all the time. If there was anything going, and I put in for a bit, then it's always the same story. You're undeserving, you can't have it. But my needs is as great as the most deserved widow ever got money out of 6 different charities in 1 week for the death of the same husband. I don't need less than a deserving man. I need more. I don't eat less hearty than him, and I drink a lot more. See, I want a bit of amusement because I'm a thinking man. I want cheerfulness and a song and a band when I feel low. Well, they charge me just the same as they charge for the deserving. Now, what is middle-class morality? It's just an excuse for never giving me anything. Therefore, I ask you two, Governors, not to play that game on me. I'm playing straight with you. I ain't pretending to be deserving. I'm undeserving. And I mean to go on being undeserving. I like it. And that's the truth. Will you take advantage of a man's nature to do him out the price of his own daughter, what he's brought up and fed and clothed by the sweat of his brow until she become interesting to 2 gentlemen such as yourself? Is £5 unreasonable? Now I'll put it to you, and I'll leave it to you.
Pickering, if we were to take this man in hand for 3 months, he could have the choice between a seat in cabinet and a popular pulpit in Wales.
What do you say to that, Doolittle?
Not me, Governor, thank you kindly. I've heard all the preachers and all the prime ministers, and I'm a thinking man, and gains for politics and religion and social reform, same as all the other amusements. And I'll tell you, it's a dog's life, any which way you look at it. Deserving poverty is my line. Taking one station in society with another, it's the only real one that ever seems to have any ginger to my taste.
Pickering, if we listen to this man another moment, we shall have no convictions left. £5, I think you said?
No, Governor. Don't. I won't make a bad use of it, I promise you. Don't be afraid that I'll save it or spare it or live idle on it. I promise you there won't be a penny left of it by Monday. I'll have to go to work same as I'd never had it. It won't pulverise me, you bet. Just one good spree for myself and the missus. Giving pleasure to ourselves and employment to others. And satisfaction to you to think that it's not been thrown away. Well, you couldn't spend it better.
Well, why, this is irresistible. Why, let's give him 10.
No, Governor. No. She wouldn't have the heart to spend 10, and I perhaps shouldn't either. I mean, £10 is a lot of money. It makes a man feel prudent, like. And then it's goodbye to happiness. You give me what I asked for, gentlemen, and not a penny more and not a penny less.
Why don't you marry that missus of yours? I'd rather draw the line at encouraging that sort of immorality.
Oh, tell her so, Governor, tell her so. It's me that suffers by it. I mean, I'm willing. I've got no hold on her. I've got to be agreeable. I've got to give her presents. I've got to buy her clothes, something sinful. No, I'm a slave to that woman, Governor, just because I'm not her lawful husband. And she knows it too. Catch her marrying me. Take my advice, Governor. Marry Eliza while she's young and don't know no better. If you don't, you'll be sorry for it after. And if you do, she'll be sorry for it after. But better you than her. Because you're a man and she's only a woman who don't know how to be happy anyhow.
Right, well, £5, I think you said.
Thank you kindly, Governor.
And you're sure that you won't take 10?
No, not now. Another time, Governor.
Here you are.
Thank you, Governor. Good morning. Oh, beg your pardon, missus.
Yeah, don't you know your own daughter?
Blimey, it's Eliza.
What's that? This?
By Jove!
Don't I look silly?
Silly?
Now, Mr. Higgins, please don't say anything to make the girl feel conceited about herself.
Oh, of course. Quite right, Mrs. Pierce. Yes, damned silly.
Please, sir.
Oh, I mean, extremely silly.
I should look all right with my hat on.
A new fashion, by George. And it ought to look horrible.
Well, I never thought she'd clean up as good as that. She's a credit to me, ain't she, Governor?
I tell you, it's easy to clean up here. Hot and cold water on tap just as much as you like, there is. Woolly towels there is, and a towel all so hot it burns your fingers. Soft brushes to scrub yourself, and a wooden bowl of soap smelling like primroses. Now I know why ladies is so clean. Washing's a treat for them. Wish they saw what it is for the like of me.
I'm glad the bathroom met with your approval.
It didn't, not all of it. And I don't care who hears me say it. Mrs. Pierce knows.
But what was wrong, Mrs. Pierce?
Oh, nothing, sir. Doesn't matter.
I'd a good mind to break it. Didn't know which way to look. But I hung a towel over it, I did.
Over what?
Over the looking glass, sir.
Doolittle, you have brought your daughter up too strictly.
Not me, Governor. Never really brought her up except to give her a lick and a strap every now and then. Well, she's accustomed to it, but I assure you she will soon pick up your free and easy ways.
I'm a good girl, I am, and I won't pick up no free and easy ways.
Eliza, if you say once more that you're a good girl, your father shall take you home.
Not him. You don't know my father. All he come here for was to touch you for some money to get drunk on.
Well, what else would you have me do with it, I suppose? Give it a charity or put it in a church bowl? Now, don't you give me any of that lip, and don't you go about giving him any lip either. If I hear about it, you will hear about it from me. Understand?
Have you any further advice before you go, Doolittle? Your blessing, perhaps?
No, Governor. I ain't such a mug as to stand in the line of my children. However, if you want Eliza's mind improved, there's nothing that won't solve it like a good strap.
Stop. You will come and see your daughter regularly. It's your duty, you know. My brother is a clergyman, and he can help you in your talks with her.
Well, certainly, Governor. Obviously, I'll come. You know, not this week, because obviously I have a job at a distance. But later on, you may depend on me. Afternoon, gentlemen. Afternoon, madam.
Don't you believe the old liar? He'd as soon you set a bulldog on him as a clergyman. You won't see him again in an hurry.
I don't want to. Do you, Eliza?
No, I don't want to never see him again, I don't. He's a disgrace to me, collecting dust instead of working at his trade.
What is his trade, Eliza?
Talking money out of other people's pockets into his own. His proper trade's a navvy. And he works at it sometimes too, for exercise, and makes good money at it. Ain't you going to call me Miss Doolittle anymore?
Beg your pardon, Miss Doolittle. It was a slip of the tongue.
Oh, I don't mind, only it sounded so genteel. I should just like to take a taxi up the corner of Tottenham Court Road and get out and tell it to wait for me there. Just to put the girls in their place a bit. I wouldn't speak to them, you know.
Better wait till we get you something really fashionable.
Besides, you shouldn't cut your old friends now that you've risen in the world. That's what we call snobbery.
You don't call the like of them my friends now, I should hope. They've took it out of me with their ridicule often enough when they got the chance. And now I mean to get a bit of my own back. What if I'm to wear fashionable clothes? All right. I should like to have some. Mrs. Pierce says you're going to give me something to wear in bed at night, different to what I wear in the daytime. Why, it do seem a waste of money when you could get something to show. Besides, I never could fancy changing into cold pinks in a winter night.
Now, Eliza, the new things have come for you.
Oh!
Don't rush about like that, girl.
Pickering, we have taken on a stiff job.
Higgins, we have.
Henry, what are you doing here today? It is my at-home day. You promised not to come.
Oh, bother.
Go home at once.
I know, Mother. I came on purpose.
But you mustn't. I'm serious, Henry. You offend all my friends. They stopped coming around whenever they meet you.
Nonsense. I know I have no small talk, but people don't mind.
Small talk indeed. What about your large talk? Really, Henry, you mustn't stay.
I must. I have a job for you. A phonetic job.
I'm sorry, dear, but I can't get round your vowels. And though I like to get pretty postcards in your patent shorthand, I always have to read copies in ordinary writing you so thoughtfully sent me.
Well, this isn't a phonetic job.
You said it was.
Not your part of it. I've picked up a girl.
Does that mean that some girl has picked you up?
No, not at all. No, I don't mean a love affair.
What a pity.
Why?
Well, you never fall in love with anyone under 45. When will you realize that there are some rather nice-looking women about?
No, I can't be bothered with young women. My idea of a lovable woman is something as like you as possible. No, I shall never get into the way of seriously liking young women. Some habits lie too deep to be changed. Besides, they're all idiots.
You know what you would do if you'd really love me, Henry?
Bother, what? Marry, I suppose.
No. Stop fidgeting and take your hands out of your pockets. That's a good boy. Now, tell me about this girl.
Ah, she's coming to see you.
I don't remember asking her.
You didn't, I asked her. If you had known her, then you would not have asked her.
Indeed. Why?
Well, you see, it's like this. She's a common flower girl. I picked her up off the curbstone.
And invited to my at-home day?
Oh, that'll be all right. I've been teaching her to speak properly, and she has strict orders as to her behaviour. She's to keep to 2 subjects, the weather and everybody's health. Fine day, and how do you do, you know, and not to let herself go on things in general. That will be safe.
Safe? To talk about our health? About our insides? Perhaps about our outsides? How could you be so silly, Henry?
Well, she must talk about something. No, she'll be all right. Don't you fuss. Pickering is in it with me. You see, I've a sort of bet on that I can pass her off as a duchess in 6 months. I started on her some months ago, and she's been getting on like a house on fire. I shall win my bet. She has a quick ear, and she's been easier to teach than my middle-class pupils, because she's had to learn a completely new language. She talks English almost as you talk French.
That is satisfactory at all events.
Well, it is and it isn't.
What do you mean?
You see, I've got her pronunciation all right, but you have to consider not only how a girl pronounces, but what she pronounces, and that is where...
Mrs. and Miss Synesford Hill, madam.
Oh, Lord.
How do you do?
My son, Henry.
Your celebrated son. I have so longed to meet you, Professor Higgins.
Delighted.
How do you do?
I've seen you somewhere before. I haven't the ghost of a notion where, but I've heard your voice. Oh, it doesn't matter. You'd better sit down.
You mustn't mind him. I'm afraid to say my celebrated son has no manners.
I don't.
Not at all.
Oh, have I been rude? I didn't mean to be.
Colonel Pickering, madam.
How do you do?
So glad you've come. Do you know Mrs. Eynsford Hill? Miss Eynsford Hill?
Has Henry told you what we've come for?
We were interrupted. Damn it.
Are we in the way?
Oh. No. You couldn't have come more fortunately. We would like you to meet a friend of ours.
Oh, yes, by George. We want 2 or 3 people. You'll do as well as anybody else.
Mr. Eynsford Hill, madam.
Oh, God of heaven, another of them.
How do you do?
Very good of you to come. Colonel Pickering.
How do you do?
I don't think you know my son, Professor Higgins.
How do you do?
I'll take my oath I've met you somewhere before. Where was it?
No, I don't think so.
It doesn't matter anyhow. Sit down. Well, here we all are anyhow. Now what the devil are we going to talk about until Eliza comes?
Henry, your Royal Society is soirees, but really, you're rather trying on more commonplace occasions.
Am I? Sorry. I suppose I am, you know.
I sympathize. I haven't any small talk. If people will only be frank and say what they really think.
Lord forbid.
But why?
Well, what they think they ought to think is bad enough, but what they really think would break up the whole show. Do you suppose it would really be agreeable if I were to come out now and say what I really think?
Is it so very cynical?
Cynical? Who the dickens said it was cynical? No, I mean it wouldn't be decent.
Oh, I'm sure you don't mean that, Mr. Higgins.
You see, we are all savages, more or less. Well, we're supposed to be civilized and cultured, to know all about poetry and art and science and philosophy and so on, but how many of us really know the meanings of these names? What do you know of poetry? What do you know of science? What does he know of art or of science or of anything else? And what the devil do you imagine I know of philosophy?
Or of your manners, Henry?
Miss Doolittle.
Here she is, Mother.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? Mr. Higgins told me I might come.
Quite right. I'm very glad indeed to see you.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not?
I feel sure we have met before, Miss Doolittle. I remember your eyes.
How do you do?
My daughter Clara.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I've certainly had the pleasure.
My son Freddie.
By George, it all comes back to me now. But Covent Garden! What a damn thing!
Henry, please. Don't sit on my writing table, you'll break it.
Sorry.
Will it rain, you think?
The shallow depression in the west of these isles is likely to move slowly in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation.
How awfully funny.
What is wrong with that, young man? I bet I got it right.
Kidding.
I'm sure, I hope it won't turn cold. There's so much influenza about. It runs right through our whole family regularly every spring.
My aunt died of influenza, so they said.
Oh.
But it is my belief they done the old woman in.
Done her in?
Yes. Lord love you, why should she die of influenza? She come through diphtheria right enough the year before. I saw her with my own eyes. Very blue with it she was. They all thought she was dead. But my father, he kept ladling gin down her throat until she came to so sudden that she bit the bowl off the spoon.
Dear me!
What call would a woman with that strength in her have to die of influenza? What become of her new straw hat that should have come to me? Somebody pinched it. And what I say is, them as pinched it done her in.
What does doing her in mean?
Oh, that's the new small talk. To do a person in means to kill them.
You surely don't believe that your aunt was killed?
Do I not? Them she lived with would have killed her for a hatpin, let alone a hat.
But it can't have been right for your father to pour spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her.
Not her. Gin was mother's milk to her. Besides, he'd poured so much down his own throat that he knew the good of it.
Do you mean that he drank?
Drank? My word, something chronic.
Oh, how dreadful for you.
Oh, not a bit. It never did him no harm what I could see. But then he did not keep it up regular. On the burst, as you might say, from time to time. and always more agreeable when he had a drop in. When he was out of work, my mother used to give him fourpence and tell him to go out and not to come back until he'd drunk himself cheerful and loving like. There's lots of women has to make their husbands drunk to make them fit to live with. You see, it's like this. If a man has a bit of a conscience, it always takes him when he's sober, and then it makes him low-spirited. A drop of booze just takes that off and makes him happy. Here, what are you sniggering at?
The new small talk. You do it so awfully well.
If I was doing it proper, what was you laughing at? Have I said anything I oughtn't?
Not at all, Miss Doolittle.
Oh, well, that's a mercy anyhow. What I always say is... Oh, well, I must go. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Colonel Pickering.
Goodbye, Miss Doolittle.
Goodbye.
Do you happen to be walking across the park, Miss Doolittle? If so...
Walk? Not bloody likely. I'm going in a taxi.
Well, I simply can't get used to the new ways.
It's all right, Mama. Quite all right. People will think we never go anywhere or see anybody if you are so old-fashioned.
I dare say I am very old-fashioned, but I do hope you won't begin using that expression, Clara. I have got accustomed to hear you talking about men as rotters and calling everything filthy and beastly, though I do think it horrible and unladylike. But this last is really too much. Don't you think so, Colonel Pickering?
Don't ask me. I've been away in India for several years, and manners have changed so much that sometimes I don't know whether I'm at a respectable dinner table or in a ship's forecastle.
It's all matter of habits. There is nothing right or wrong with it, and nobody means anything by it. And it's so quaint, and gives such a smart emphasis to things that are not in themselves very witty. I find the new small talk delightful and quite innocent.
Well, after that, I think it's time for us to go.
We have 3 at home to go to still. Goodbye, Mrs. Higgins. Goodbye, Colonel Pickering. Goodbye, Professor Higgins.
Goodbye. Be sure to try on that small talk at the 3 at homes. Don't be nervous about it. Pitch it in strong.
I will. Goodbye. Such a nonsense. All this early Victorian prudery.
Such damned nonsense.
Such bloody nonsense.
Clara!
Such bloody nonsense. Bloody nonsense.
Well, I ask you. Goodbye.
Would you like to see Miss Doolittle again?
Yes, I should. Most awfully. Thank you.
Well, you know my days.
Yes, thanks awfully. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Higgins.
Oh, goodbye.
It's no use. I shall never be able to bring myself to use that word.
Don't. It's not compulsory, you know. You get on quite well without it.
Only Clara is so down on me if I'm not positively reeking with the latest slang. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
You mustn't mind Clara. We're so poor, and she gets so few parties, poor child. She doesn't quite know. But the boy is nice. Don't you think so?
Oh, quite so. I shall be delighted to see him again.
Thank you, dear. Goodbye.
Well, is Eliza presentable?
You silly boy. Of course she's not presentable. She's a triumph of your art and of her dressmakers. If you suppose that for a moment that she doesn't give herself away in every sentence that she utters. You must be perfectly cracked about her.
But don't you think something might be done? I mean, something to eliminate the sanguinary element in her conversation.
Not as long as she's in his hands.
Do you mean to say that my language is improper?
No, dearest. It would be quite proper on, let's say, a canal barge. But it would be not improper at a garden party.
Well, I must say...
Higgins, you must learn to know yourself. I haven't such language as yours since we used to review the volunteers in Hyde Park 20 years ago.
Well, very well, if you say so. I suppose I don't always talk like a bishop.
Colonel Pickering, will you tell me the exact state of things in Wimpole Street?
Well, I have come to live there with Henry. We work together at my Indian dialects, and we think it more convenient.
Yes, it is quite so. I know all about that. It's an excellent arrangement. But where does this girl live?
Well, with us, of course. Where would she live?
But on what terms? Is she a servant? If not, where is she?
I think I know what you mean, Mrs. Higgins.
Well, dash me if I do. I've had to work at that girl every day for months to get her to her present pitch. Besides, she's useful. She knows where all my things are and remembers my appointments and so forth.
How does your housekeeper feel about her?
Mrs. Pierce? Oh, well, she's jolly glad to get so much taken off her hands. Why, for before Eliza came, she had to find my things and remember my appointments. But she's got some silly bee in her bonnet about Eliza. She keeps on saying, "You don't think, sir." Doesn't she, Pick?
That's a formula. You don't think, sir. That's the end of every conversation about Eliza.
As if I ever stop thinking about the girl and her confounded vowels and consonants. I'm worn out thinking about her and watching her lips and her teeth and her tongue, and not to mention her soul, which is the quaintest of the lot.
You certainly are a pretty pair of babies playing with your live doll.
Playing? The hardest job that I ever tackled. Make no mistake about that, Mother. But you have no idea how frightfully interesting it is to take a human being and then change them into a completely different human being by creating a new speech for them. It's filling up the widest gulf that separates class from class and soul from soul.
Yes, it's enormously interesting. I assure you, Mrs. Higgins, we take Eliza very seriously. Every week, every day almost, there is some new change. We keep records of every stage, dozens of gramophone discs and photographs.
Oh, yes, by George. Why, it's the most absorbing experiment that I've ever tackled. She regularly fills up our lives, doesn't she, Pick?
We're always talking Eliza.
Teaching Eliza.
Dressing Eliza.
What?
Inventing new Elizas. You know, she has the most extraordinary quickness of ear.
I assure you, my dear Mrs. Higgins, that girl is a genius.
Just like a parrot.
She can play the piano quite beautifully.
I've tried her with every possible sort of sound that a human being can make.
We have taken her to classical concerts and to music halls.
Continental dialects, African dialects, Hottentot clicks.
And it's all the same to her.
Things it took me years to get a hold of.
She plays everything she hears right off when she comes home.
And she picks them up like a shot, right away.
Whether it's Beethoven and Brahms or Lahar and Lionel Morrison.
As if she'd been at it all of her life.
Oh, 6 months ago, she never as much touched the piano. I beg your pardon?
Oh, sorry. When Pickering starts shouting, nobody can get a word in edgeways.
Be quiet, Henry. Colonel Pickering, don't you realize that when Eliza walked in to Wimpole Street, something walked in with her?
Her father did, but Henry soon got rid of him.
It would have been more to the point as her mother did. But as her mother didn't, something else did.
What?
A problem.
I see. The problem of how to pass her off as a lady.
Oh, I'll solve that problem. I've half solved it already.
No, you two indefinitely stupid male creatures. The problem is of what is to be done with her afterwards.
Well, I don't see anything in that. But she can go her own way with all the advantages I've given her.
The advantages of that poor woman who was just here now? The manners and habits that disqualify a fine lady from earning her own living without giving her a fine lady's income. Is that what you mean?
Oh, that will be all right, Mrs. Higgins.
We'll find her some light employment.
She's happy enough. Don't you worry about her. Goodbye.
Well, besides, there's no point in bothering about it now, when the thing's done. Goodbye, Mother.
There are plenty of openings. We'll do what's right. Goodbye.
Oh, let's take her to the Shakespeare exhibition at Earl's Court.
Yes, let's. Her remarks will be delicious.
And she'll mimic all the people for us when we get home.
Ripping! Ho, 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 ho.
Oh, man.
Oh, I say, Pick, lock up, will you? I shan't be going out again.
Right. Can Mrs. Pace go to bed? We don't want anything more, do we?
No, Lord, no.
I say, Mrs. Pace will row if we leave these things lying about in the drawing room.
Oh, chuck them out over the banisters into the hall. She'll find them in the morning and put them away all right. She'll think we were drunk.
We are, slightly. Are there any letters?
I didn't look. I wonder where the devil my slippers are.
Only circulars and this coroneted billet doux for you.
Oh, moneylender. Lord, what an evening. What a crew. What silly tomfoolery. Oh, they're there, are they?
Well, I feel a bit tired. It's been a long day. The garden party, dinner party, and the opera. Rather too much of a good thing, but you've won your bet. Higgins, Eliza did the trick, and something to spare, eh?
Oh, thank God it's over.
Were you nervous at the garden party? I was. Eliza didn't seem a bit nervous.
Well, no, she wasn't nervous. No, I knew she'd be all right. No, it's the strain of putting the job through all these months that's told on me. It was interesting enough at first, while we were at the phonetics, but after that I got deadly sick of it. If I hadn't backed myself to do it, I should have chucked the whole thing up 2 months ago. It was a silly notion. The whole thing has been a bore.
Oh, come. The garden party was frightfully exciting. My heart began beating like anything.
Yes, for the first 3 minutes. But after the fact that I saw that we were going to win hands down, I felt like a bear in a cage, hanging about doing nothing. The dinner was worse, sitting there gorging for over an hour with no one but a damned fool of a fashionable woman to talk to. Oh, I tell you, Pickering, never again for me. No more artificial duchesses. The whole thing has been simple purgatory.
You've never been broken in properly into social routine. I'd rather enjoy dipping into it occasionally myself. It makes me feel young again. Anyhow, it was a great success, an immense success. I was quite frightened once or twice because Eliza was doing it so well. You see, lots of the real people can't do it at all. They're such fools, they think style comes by nature, by people in their position. And so they never learn. There's always something professional that thinks superlatively well.
Yes, that's what drives me mad. The silly people who don't know their own silly business. However, it's over and done with. And now at last I can go to bed without dreading tomorrow.
I think I shall turn into... Still, it's been a great succession. A great occasion, even. A triumph for you. Good night.
Good night. Oh, put the lights out, Eliza. And tell Mrs. Pierce not to make coffee for me in the morning. I'll take tea. What the devil have I done with my slippers?
There are your slippers. And there! Take your slippers, and may you never have a day's luck with them.
What on earth? What's the matter? Get up. Anything wrong?
Nothing wrong with you. I've won your bet for you, haven't I? That's enough for you. I don't matter, I suppose.
You won my bet. You? The presumptuous insect. I won it. What did you throw those slippers at me for?
Because I wanted to smash your face. I'd like to kill you, you selfish brute. Why didn't you leave me where you picked me out of, in the gutter? And you thank God it's all over and that now you can throw me back there again, do you?
But the creature is nervous after all. Claws in, you cat! How dare you show your temper to me? Sit down and be quiet.
What's to become of me? What's to become of me?
How the devil do I know what's to become of you? What does it matter what becomes of you?
You don't care. I know you don't care. You wouldn't care if I were dead. I'm nothing to you, not so much as them slippers.
Those slippers!
Those slippers. I didn't think it made any difference now.
Why have you begun going on like this? May I ask whether you complain of your treatment here?
No.
Has anybody behaved badly to you? Colonel Pickering? Mrs. Pierce? Any of the servants?
No.
I suppose you don't pretend that I have treated you badly.
No.
I'm glad to hear it. Perhaps you're tired after the strain of the day. Will you have a glass of champagne?
No. Thank you.
This has been coming on you for some days. I suppose it was natural for you to be anxious about the garden party. But that's all over now. There's nothing more to worry about.
Oh, nothing more for you to worry about. Oh, God, I wish I were dead.
Why? In heaven's name, why? Listen to me. Eliza, all of this irritation is purely subjective.
I don't understand. I'm too ignorant.
It's just imagination. Low spirits and nothing else. But nobody's hurting you. Nothing's wrong. You go to bed like a good girl and sleep it off. Have a little cry and say your prayers. That will make you comfortable.
I heard your prayers. Thank God it's over.
Well, don't you thank God it's over? But now you are free, and you can do whatever you like.
What am I fit for? What have you left me fit for? Where am I to go? What am I to do? What's to become of me?
Now that's what's worrying you, is it? I shouldn't bother about it if I were you. I shan't imagine you'll have much difficulty settling yourself somewhere or other, although I hadn't quite realized that you were going away. You might marry, you know. You see, Eliza, not all men are confirmed old bachelors like me and the Colonel. Most men are the marrying sort, poor devils. And you're not bad looking. It's quite a pleasure to look at you sometimes. Well, not now, of course, because you're crying and looking ugly as the very devil, but when you're all right and you're quite yourself, you're what I should call attractive. That is to the people in the marrying line, you understand. Now, you go to bed and have a nice rest, and then you'll get up and look at yourself in the glass, and you won't feel so cheap. I dare say my mother could find you some chap or other who would do you very well.
We're above that at the corner of Tottenham Court Road.
What do you mean?
I sold flowers. I didn't sell myself. Now you've made a lady of me. I'm not fit to sell anything else.
Oh, tosh, Eliza. But don't you insult human relations by dragging all this cant about buying and selling into it? Well, you needn't marry the fellow if you don't like him.
What else am I to do?
Lots of things. What about your old idea of a florist shop? Pickering could set you up in one. He's lots of money. You'll have to pay for all those togs that you've been wearing today. And that, with the hire of the jewellery, should make a big hole in about £200. Why, 6 months ago, you would have thought it the millennium to have a flower shop of your own. Oh, come, you'll be all right. Now I must clear off to bed. I'm devilishly sleepy. By the way, I came down here for something. I forget what it was.
Your slippers.
Oh, yes, of course. You shied them at me.
Before you go, sir.
Yes?
Do my clothes belong to me or to Colonel Pickering?
What the devil use would they be to Pickering?
You might want them for the next girl you pick up to experiment on.
Is that the way you feel towards us?
I don't want to hear anything more about that. All I want to know is whether anything belongs to me. My own clothes were burnt.
But what does it matter? Why need you start bothering about that in the middle of the night?
I want to know what I may take away with me. I don't want to be accused of stealing.
Stealing? You shouldn't have said that, Eliza. Oh, that shows a want of feeling.
I'm sorry. I'm only a common, ignorant girl, and in my station I have to be careful. There can't be any feeling between the like of you and the like of me. Now, will you please tell me what belongs to me and what doesn't?
You may take the damn house full if you like. Except for the jewels, but they're hired. Will that satisfy you?
Stop, please. You take these to your room and keep them safe. I don't want to run the risk of their being missing.
Hand them over. If these belonged to me instead of the jeweller, I'd ram them down your ungrateful throat.
This ring isn't the jeweller's. It's the one you bought me in Brighton. I don't want it now. Don't you hit me!
Hit you? You infamous creature! How dare you accuse me of such a thing? It is you who have hit me. You have wounded me to the heart.
I'm glad. I've got little of my own back anyhow.
You have caused me to lose my temper. A thing that has hardly ever happened to me before. I'd prefer to say nothing more tonight. I'm going to bed.
You had better leave a note for Mrs. Pierce about the coffee, for she won't be told by me.
Damn Mrs. Pierce, damn the coffee, and damn you. And damn my own folly in having lavished my hard-earned knowledge and the treasure of my regard and intimacy on a heartless gutter snipe.
Mr. Henry, madam, is downstairs with Colonel Pickering.
Well, show them up.
They're using the telephone, madam. Telephoning to the police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry is in a state, madam. I thought I'd better tell you.
If you would have told me that Mr. Henry was not in a state, it would have been more surprising. Well, tell them to come up whenever they've finished. Suppose he's lost something.
Yes, madam.
Oh, and go upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle not to come down until I call for her.
Yes, madam.
Look here, Mother. Here's a confounded thing.
Yes, what is it? Good morning.
Eliza's bolted.
You must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Nonsense. She was left last night, as usual, to put out all the lights and all that. And instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and went right off. Her bed wasn't slept in. She came in a cab for her things before 7 this morning, and that fool Mrs. Pierce let her have them without telling me a word about it. What am I to do?
Do without Henry. The girl has perfect right to leave if she chooses to.
But I can't find anything. I don't know what appointments I've got.
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. Has Henry told you?
What does that ass of an inspector say? Have you offered a reward?
You don't mean to say you set police after Eliza?
But of course. What are the police for? What else were we to do?
The inspector made a lot of difficulties. I really think he suspected us of some improper purpose.
Well, of course he has. What right have you got to go to the police and give girl's name as if she were a thief or lost umbrella or something?
But we want to find her.
We can't let her go like this. You know, Mrs. Higgins. What were we to do?
You have no more sense, either of you, than the 2 children. Why?
Mr. Henry, sir, a gentleman wants to see you. He's been sent on from Wimpole Street.
Oh, bother, but I can't see anybody now. Who is it?
Mr. Doolittle, sir.
You mean a dustman? Doolittle?
A dustman? Oh, no, sir. A gentleman.
By George, Pickett's some relative of hers she's gone to. Somebody we know nothing about. Send him up. Quick!
Yes, sir.
Genteel relatives. Now we shall hear something.
Do you know any of her people?
Only her father, the fellow we told you about.
Mr. Doolittle.
See here! You see this? You done this?
Done what, man?
This I tell you. Look at it. Look at this hat. Look at
Has
this.
Eliza been buying you clothes?
Liza? Not she, not half. Why would she be buying me clothes?
Good morning, Mr. Doolittle.
Oh,
Won't you sit down?
asking your pardon, ma'am. Thank you. I am full of what has happened to me that I can't think of anything else.
What the dickens has happened to you?
Well, I shouldn't have minded if it had only happened to me. Anything might happen to anyone. And nobody to blame but Providence, as you might say. But this is something that you've done to me. Yes, you, Henry Higgins.
Have you found Eliza? Well, that's the point.
Have you lost her?
Yes.
Well, you have all the luck you have. I ain't found her. But she'll find me soon enough after what you've done to me.
But what has my son done to you, Mr. Doolittle?
Done to me. Ruined me. Destroyed me happiness. Tied me up and delivered me into the hands of middle-class morality.
You're raving. You're drunk. You're mad. I gave you £5. After that, I had 2 conversations with you at £0.50 an hour, and I haven't seen you since.
Drunk am I? Mad am I? Tell me this. Did you or did you not write a letter to an old blighter in America that was giving $5 million to found moral reform societies all over the world and that wanted you to invest in universal languages for him?
What? Ezra D. Wannafeller? He's dead.
Yes, he's dead, and I'm done for. Now, did you or did you not write a letter to him saying that the most original moralist at present in England, to the best of your knowledge, is Alfred Doolittle, a common dustman?
Oh, after your last visit, I do remember making some silly joke of the kind.
But you may as well call it a silly joke. Put the lid on me right enough. Just give him a chance. He wanted to show Americans that he's not like us, that they recognise and respect every class of life, however humble. Them words of this blooming will in which you, Henry Higgins, thanks to your silly joke, he leaves me a share in his pre-digested cheese trust, worth $3,000 a year on the condition that I lecture for his Wannafeller Moral Reforms World League as often as they ask me to for up to 6 times a year.
The devil he does. What a lark.
A safe thing for you, Doolittle. They won't ask you twice.
Well, it ain't the lecture in our minds. I'll lecture them till they're blue in the face, I will. And not turn an ear. It's making a gentleman out of me that I object to. Who asked him to make a gentleman of me? I was happy. I was free. I touched pretty high everyone for money when I wanted it. Same as I touched you, Henry Higgins. Now I'm worried. Tired neck and heels. And everyone touches me for money. It's a fine thing for you, says my solicitor. It says I. You mean it's a good thing for money? I says, when I was poor and had a solicitor once, when they found me a problem with a dust cart, he got me off and got shut of me and me shut of him as quick as he could. Same with the doctors. The doctors used to shove me out of the hospital before I could hardly stand on my legs and nothing to pay. Now they find out that I'm an healthy man and can't live unless they look after me twice a day. At home, I'm not letting to do a hand's turn for myself. Someone else must do it and touch me up for it. A year ago, I ain't a relative in the world except for two that wouldn't speak to me. Now I'm 50 and got a decent week's wages among the lot of them. I have to live for others and not for myself. That's middle class morality. You talk of losing Eliza. Don't you be anxious. I'll bet she's on my doorstep by this. And she can support herself easy by selling flowers if I wasn't a respectable gentleman. And the next one to touch me will be you, Henry Higgins. I'll have to learn to speak the middle class language from you instead of speaking proper English. That's where you come in. And I dare say that's what you've done it for.
But my dear Mr. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this if you really are in earnest. Nobody can force you to accept this bequest. You can repudiate it. Isn't that so, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
Well, the tragedy of it, ma'am, it's easy to say, chuck it, but I haven't the nerve. Which one of us says? We're all intimidated. Intimidated, ma'am. That's what we are. What is there for me if I chuck it for the workhouse in my old age? I have to dye my hair just to keep my job as a dustman. If I was one of the deserving poor and they put by a bit, I could chuck it. But then why should I? Of course, the deserving poor might as well be millionaires for all the happiness that they ever has. I mean, they don't know what happiness is. But I, as one as the undeserving poor, have nothing between me and the pauper's uniform. This here blasted 3,000 a year that shoves me into the middle class. That, excuse the expression, ma'am, you use it yourself if you have my provocation. They got you every which way you turn. It's a choice between the skilly or the workhouse. And Bashar Bidas in the middle class, and I haven't the nerve for the workhouse. Intimidated, that's what I am. Broke, bolt up. Happier men than me will call up for my dust and touch me for their tip. And I'll look on helpless and envy them. And that's what your son has done to me.
Well, I'm very glad you're not going to do anything foolish, Mr. Doolittle. For this solves the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her now.
Yes, Mom. I'm expected to provide for everyone now with this 3,000 a year.
Nonsense. He can't provide for her. He shan't provide for her. But she doesn't belong to him. I paid him £5 for her. Doolittle, either you're an honest man or a rogue.
A little bit of both, Henry. Like the rest of us, a little bit of both.
Well, you took money for that girl, and you've no right to take her as well.
Henry, if you really want to know where's Eliza, she is upstairs.
Upstairs? Well, then I shall jolly soon fetch her downstairs.
Be quiet, Henry. Sit down. Sit down and listen to me.
Oh, very well. But I think you might have told me this half an hour ago.
Eliza came to me this morning. She passed the night partially walking about in rage, partially trying to throw herself into the river and being afraid to, and partially in Carlton Hotel. She told me of the brutal way you two treated her.
What?
My dear Mrs. Higgins, she's been telling you stories. We didn't treat her brutally. We hardly said a word to her. We parted on particularly good terms. Didn't we, Higgins? Higgins, did I bully her after I went to bed? Did you?
Just the other way about. She threw slippers in my face. She behaved in the most outrageous way, and I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came bang into my face the moment I entered the room, before I had uttered a word. And she used perfectly awful language.
Why? What did we do to her?
I think you know perfectly well what you've done to her. The girl is rather affectionate. Don't you think, Mr. Doolittle?
Very tender heart, ma'am. Takes after me.
Just so. She had become attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. I don't think you know what in the nature of brain work means to a girl like that. Well, it seems when the great day of trial came, and she did this wonderful thing without making a single mistake, you two sat there and never said a word to her, but spoke of how glad you thought it was all over and how you'd been bored with the whole thing. And then you were surprised she threw your slippers at you. I should have thrown the fire irons at you.
We said nothing except that we wanted to go to bed. Did we, Pick?
That was all.
Quite sure.
Really? Absolutely. That was all.
But you didn't thank her or pet her or admire her or tell her how splendid she's been.
But she knew all of that. We didn't make speeches to her, if that's what you mean.
Perhaps we were a little inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
Well, I'm afraid she won't go back to Wimpole Street, especially now that Mr. Doolittle is able to provide for her. But she's willing to let bygones be bygones and meet you on the friendly terms.
Well, is she, by George? Oh!
If you promise to behave, Henry, I will ask her to come down. If not, go home. You have wasted too much of my time.
All right. Very well. Pick, you behave yourself. Let us put on our Sunday best manners for this creature that we picked out of the mud.
And now, Henry Higgins, have some consideration for my feelings as a middle-class man.
Remember your promise, Henry. Mr. Doolittle, would you be so good as to step out into the balcony for a moment? I don't want Eliza to get a shock of your being here until she made up with these two gentlemen.
My pleasure, ma'am. Anything to help Higgins keep Eliza off my hands.
Ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please.
Yes, madam.
Now, Henry, be good.
I'm behaving myself perfectly.
He is doing his best, Mrs. Higgins.
Henry, you don't look at all good in that attitude.
I was not trying to look good, Mother.
It doesn't matter. I only wanted to make you speak.
Why?
Because you can't speak and whistle at the same time.
Ugh. Oh, where the devil is that girl? Are we to wait here all day?
How do, Professor Higgins? Are you quite well?
Am I?
But of course you are. You are never ill. So pleased to see you again, Colonel Pickering. Quite chilly this morning, isn't it?
Don't you dare try that game on with me. I taught it to you, and it doesn't take me in. Oh, get up and come home. Don't be a fool.
Very nicely indeed, Henry. No woman could resist such an invitation.
You let her alone, Mother. Let her speak for herself. You will jolly soon see whether she has a thought that I haven't put into her head, or a word that I haven't put into her mouth. I tell you, I have created this thing out of the squashed cabbage leaves of Covent Garden, and now she tries to play the fine lady with me.
Yes, dear, but won't you sit down?
Will you drop me altogether now that the experiment is over, Colonel Pickering?
Oh, don't. You mustn't think of it as an experiment. It shocks me somehow.
Oh, I'm only a squashed cabbage leaf.
No.
But I owe so much to you that I should be very unhappy if you forgot me.
It's very kind of you to say so, Miss Doolittle.
It's not because you paid for my dresses. I know you are generous to everyone with money. But it was from you that I learned really nice men. And that is what makes one a lady, isn't it? You see, it was so very difficult for me with the example of Professor Higgins always before me. I was brought up to be just like him, unable to control myself and using bad language on the slightest provocation. And I should never have known that ladies and gentlemen didn't behave like that if you hadn't been there.
Well.
Oh, that's only his way, you know. He doesn't it?
Oh, I didn't mean it either when I was a flower girl. It was only my way. But, you see, I did it. And that's what makes the difference after all.
No doubt. Still, he taught you to speak. And I couldn't have done that, you know.
Naturally, that is his profession.
Oh, damnation.
It was just like learning to dance in the fashionable way. There was nothing more than that in it. But do you know what began my real education?
What?
You're calling me Miss Doolittle that day when I first came to Wimpole Street. That was the beginning of self-respect for me. And there were 100 little things you never noticed because they came naturally to you. Things about standing up and taking off your hat and opening doors.
That was nothing.
Yes, things that showed you thought and felt about me as if I was something better than a scullery maid. Although, of course, I know you would have been just the same to a scullery maid if she had been let in the drawing room. You never took off your boots in the dining room when I was there.
You mustn't mind that. Higgins takes off his boots all over the place.
I know. I'm not blaming him. Is his way, isn't it? But it made such a difference to me that you didn't do it. You see, really and truly, apart from the things anyone can pick up, the dressing and the proper way of speaking and so on, the difference between a flower girl and a lady isn't how she behaves, but how she's treated. I shall always be a flower girl to Professor Higgins, because he always treats me as a flower girl and always will. But I know I can be a lady to you, because you always treat me as a lady and always will.
Henry, don't grind your teeth.
Well, this is really nice of you. Very nice of you, Miss Doolittle.
I should like you to call me Eliza now, if you would.
Thank you. Eliza. Of course.
And I should like Professor Higgins to call me Miss Doolittle.
I'll see you damned first.
Henry!
Why don't you slam back at him? Don't stand it. I would. And of course it would do him a lot of good if you did.
I can't. I could have done it once, but now I can't go back to it. Last night when I was wandering about, a girl spoke to me. And I tried to get back into the old way with her, but it was no use. You told me, you know, that when a child is brought to a foreign country, it picks up the language in a few weeks and forgets its own. Well, I am a child in your country. I have forgotten my own language and can speak nothing but yours. That's the real break-off with the corner of Tottenham Court Road. Leaving Wimpole Street finishes it.
But you're coming back to Wimpole Street, aren't you? You'll forgive Higgins.
Forgive? How will she, by George? Let her go. Let her see how long she can survive without us. She'll relapse into the gutter in 3 weeks without me at her elbow.
He's incorrigible, Eliza. You won't relapse, will you?
No, not now. Never again. I've learned my lesson. I don't believe I could utter one of the old sounds if I tried. Oh!
Just so! Oh! Victory! Victory!
And you blame the girl? Don't look at me like that, Eliza. It ain't my fault I've come into money.
You must have touched a millionaire this time, Dad.
I have. But I'm just something special today. I'm going to St. George's Hanover Square. Your stepmother's going to marry me.
What can you let yourself down to marry that low, common woman?
He ought to, Eliza. Why has she changed her mind?
Oh, intimidated, Governor. Intimidated. Middle-class morality claims its victim. Why don't you put on your hat, Eliza, and come and see me turned off?
Well, if the Colonel says I must, I'll demean myself and get insulted for my pains like enough.
Don't be afraid. She never comes to words with anyone now. Poor woman. Respectability has broken all the spirit out of her.
Be kind to them, Eliza. Make the best of it.
Oh, well, just to show there's no ill feeling. I'll be back in a moment.
I feel uncommon nervous about the ceremony. Colonel, I wish you'd come over and see me through it.
But you've been through it before, man. You were married to Eliza's mother.
Who told you that, Governor?
Well, nobody told me, but I concluded naturally.
No. That ain't the natural way, Colonel. It's only the middle-class way. My way was always the undeserving way. But don't say nothing to Eliza. She don't know I have a delicacy about telling her.
Quite right. We'll leave it so if you don't mind.
And you'll come to the church, Colonel, and put me through it straight?
With pleasure. As far as a bachelor can.
May I come, Mr. Doolittle? I shall be very sorry to miss your wedding.
Oh, me and the missus would be honoured by your condensation, ma'am. She would take it as a tremendous compliment. Well, she's been saved enough as it is, thinking of merrier times that are no more.
I'll order the carriage and get ready. I shan't be more than 15 minutes. Eliza, I'm going to church to see your father married. You better come in the brougham with me. Colonel Pickering, you can go with the bridegroom.
Oh, bridegroom. What a word. Makes the man realise his position somewhat.
Before I go, Eliza, do forgive him and come back to us.
I think Papa would allow me. Would you, Dad?
Oh, they played you off very cunning, Liza. Them two sportsmen. If it had only been the one of them, you could have nailed him. But you see, there was two of them. And one chaperoned the other, as you might say. It was awful of you, Colonel. But I'll bear no malice. I should have done the same thing myself. I've been the victim of one woman to another all my life. And I don't grudge you two for getting the better of Eliza. I shan't interfere. Well, it's time for us to go, Colonel. So long, Henry. Right. See you at St. George's, Liza.
Stay with us, Eliza.
Well, Eliza, you've had a bit of your own back, as you call it. Have you had enough, and are you going to be reasonable? Or do you want any more?
You want me back only to pick up your slippers and put up with your tempers and fetch and carry for you.
I haven't said I wanted you back at all.
Oh, indeed. Then what are we talking about?
About you, not about me. If you do come back, I shall treat you just as I have always treated you. I can't change my nature, and I don't intend to change my manners. My manners are exactly the same as Colonel Pickering's.
That's not true. He treats a flower girl as if she were a duchess.
And I treat a duchess as if she were a flower girl.
I see. The same to everybody.
Just so.
Like father.
Without accepting comparison at all points, Eliza, it is quite true that your father is not a snob, and that he will be quite at home in whatever station of life to which his eccentric destiny may call him. The great secret, Eliza, is not having good manners or bad manners or any other particular sort of manners, but having the same manner for all human souls. In short, behaving as if you were in heaven, where there are no third-class carriages, and one soul is as good as another.
Amen. You are a born preacher.
The question is not whether I treat you rudely, but whether you have ever heard me treat anyone else better.
I don't care how you treat me. I don't mind you swearing at me. I don't mind a black eye. I've had one before this. But I won't be passed over.
But then get out of my way, for I won't stop for you. You talk about me as if I were a motor bus.
And so you are a motor bus. All bounce and go and no consideration for anybody. But I can do without you.
I know you can. I told you you could.
No, you did, you brute. You wanted to get rid of me.
Oh, liar.
Thank you.
You never thought, I suppose, about whether I could do without you.
Don't you try to get round me. You'll have to do without me.
I can do without anybody. I have my own soul, my own spark of divine fire. But I shall miss you, Eliza. I've learned something from your idiotic notions. I confess that humbly and gratefully. And I have grown accustomed to your voice and appearance. I like them, rather.
Well, you have both of them on your gramophone and in your book of photographs. When you feel lonely without me, you can turn the machine on.
I can't turn your soul on. Leave me those feelings, and you can take away the voice and the face, for they are not you.
Oh, you are the devil. You can twist the heart in a girl as easy as some could twist her arms to hurt her. Yes, you want me. Time and again she's wanted to leave you, and you always got round to it the last minute. You don't care a bit for her. You don't care a bit for me.
I care for life, for humanity. And you are a part of that has come my way and been built into my house. What more could you or anyone ask?
I won't care for anybody that doesn't care for me.
Commercial principles, Eliza. Like selling violets, isn't it?
Don't sneer at me. It's mean to sneer at me.
I have never sneered in my life. Sneering does not become either the human face or the human soul. I'm merely expressing my righteous contempt for commercialism. I don't and won't trade in affection. You call me a brute because you couldn't buy a claim on me by fetching my slippers or finding my spectacles. You were a fool. I think a woman fetching a man's slippers is a disgusting sight. Did I ever fetch your slippers? If you come back for the sake of good fellowship, for you'll get nothing else. You have had 1,000 times more out of me than I have had out of you. And if you dare to set up your dog's tricks of carrying slippers against my creation of a duchess, Eliza, I'll slam the door in your silly face.
do it for if you didn't care for?
Why, because it was my job.
You never thought of the trouble it would make for me.
Would the world ever have been made if its maker thought about the trouble it would make? Making life means making trouble. There's only one way of escaping trouble, and that's killing things. Cowards, you'll notice, are always shrieking to have some troublesome people killed.
I'm no preacher. I don't notice things like that. I notice you don't notice me.
Eliza, you are an idiot. I waste the treasures of my Miltonic mind by spreading them before you. Once and for all, will you understand that I go my way and do my work without caring tuppence what happens to both of us? I'm not intimidated like your father or your stepmother, so you can come back or go to the devil, which you please.
What am I to come back for?
Well, for the fun of it. Well, that's why I took you on.
And you may throw me out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
Yes, and you may walk out tomorrow if I don't do everything you want me to.
Live with my stepmother?
Yes, or sell flowers.
Oh, if only I could go back to my flower basket. Then I should be independent of both you and father and all the world. Why did you take my independence from me? Why did I give it up? I'm a slave now for all my fine clothes.
No, not a bit. I'll adopt you as my daughter and settle money on you if you like. Or would you rather marry Pickering?
I wouldn't marry you if you asked me. And you're nearer my age than what he is.
Then he is, not then what he is.
I'll talk as I like. You're not my teacher now.
I don't suppose Pickering would, though. He's as confirmed an old bachelor as I am.
That's not what I want, and don't you think it. Always had chaps enough wanting me that way. Hetty Hill writes to me 2 and 3 times a day.
Damn his impudence.
He has a right to if he likes, poor boy. And he does love me.
You have no right to encourage him.
Every girl has a right to be loved.
What, by fools like that?
Lady's not a fool. And if he's weak and poor and wants me, maybe he'd make me happier than my betters that bully me and don't want me.
But can he make anything of you? That's the point.
Perhaps I could make something of him. But I never thought about making anything of one another. You never think of anything else. I only want to be natural.
In short, you want me to be as infatuated about you as Freddie. Is that it?
No, I don't. That's not the sort of feeling I want from you. Don't you be too sure of yourself. Or of me. I could have been a bad girl if I'd liked. I've seen more of some things than you for all your learning. Girls like me can drag gentlemen down to make love to them easy enough. They wish each other dead the next minute.
Of course they can. Then what in thunder are we quarrelling about?
I want a little kindness. I know I'm only a common, ignorant girl, and you a book-learned gentleman. But I'm not dirt under your feet. What I done, what I did, was not for the dresses or the taxis. I did it because we were pleasant together, and I came to care for you. Not to want you to make love to me, and not forgetting the difference between us, but more friendly-like.
But of course, but that's exactly how I feel, and how Pickering feels. Eliza, you are a fool.
Not a proper answer to give me.
Well, it's all you'll get until you stop being a common idiot. If you're going to be a lady, you'll have to give up feeling neglected if the men you know don't spend half their time snivelling over you and half their time giving you black eyes. If you can't stand the coldness of my sort of life and the strain of it, very well, go back to the gutter to be with the sort of people you like. Oh, it's a fine life in the gutter. It's real, it's raw, it's violent. You can feel it through your thickest skin, and you can taste it without any sort of work. Not like art or science or classical music or philosophy and so on. You find me cold, unfeeling, and selfish, don't you? Very well. Be off to those sort of people that you like. Marry some sentimental old hog with lots of money and a thick pair of lips to kiss you with and a thick pair of boots to kick you with. If you can't appreciate what you've got, you'd better go and get what you appreciate.
You are a cruel tyrant. I can't talk to you. You turn everything against me. I'm always in the wrong. You know very well all the time that you're nothing but a bully. You know I can't go back to the gutter, as you call it, and that I have no real friends in the world but you and the Colonel. You know well I couldn't bear to live with a low common man after you two, and it's wicked and cruel of you to insult me by pretending I could. You think I must go back to Wimpole Street because I have nowhere else to go but father's. Be too sure you have me under your feet to be trampled on and talked down. I'll marry Freddie, I will, as soon as he's able to support me.
Rubbish. You shall marry an ambassador. You shall marry the Governor-General of India or the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland or somebody who wants a deputy queen. I am not going to have my masterpiece thrown away on Freddie.
You think I like you to say that, but I haven't forgot what you said a minute ago, and I won't be coaxed round as if I were a baby or a puppy. If I can't have kindness, I'll have independence.
Independence? That's middle-class blasphemy. We are all dependent on one another, every soul of us on earth.
I'll let you see whether I'm dependent on you. If you can preach, I can teach.
And what will you teach in heaven's name?
What you taught me. I'll teach phonetics. I'll offer myself as an assistant to Professor Napier.
What? That impostor, that humbug, that toadying ignoramus. You take one step in his direction and I'll wring your neck. Do you hear?
Wring away. What do I care? I knew you'd strike me someday. Now I know how to deal with you. You can't take away the knowledge you've given me. You said I had a finer ear than you, and I can be civil and kind to people, which is more than you can. Ah, ha! That's done you, Henry Higgins, it has. Now I don't care that for your bullying and your big talk. I'll advertise it in the papers that your Duchess is only a flower girl that you taught, and that she'll teach anybody to be a Duchess just the same in 6 months for 1,000 guineas. I think of myself crawling under your feet and being trampled on and called names, when all the time I had only to lift up my finger to be as good as you. I could just kick myself.
You damned imprudent girl. But it's better than snivelling. Better than fetching slippers and carrying spectacles, isn't it? By George, Eliza. I said I'd make a woman of you. And I have. I like you like this.
Yes, you turn round and make up to me now that I'm not afraid of you and can do without you.
Well, of course you can, you little fool. 5 minutes ago, you were like a millstone around my neck. Now you're a tower of strength, a consort battleship. You and I and Pickering will be 3 old bachelors together now, instead of 2 old men and a silly girl.
The carriage is waiting, Eliza. Are you ready?
Yes, quite. Is the professor coming?
Certainly not. He can't behave himself in church. He makes remarks out loud all the time on the clergyman's pronunciation.
Then I shall not see you again, Professor. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mother. Oh, by the way, Eliza, buy me a ham and Stilton cheese, will you? And buy me a pair of reindeer gloves, number 8, and a tie to match that suit of mine at Eel and Binman's. You can choose the colour.
Buy them yourself.
I'm afraid you spoiled that girl, Henry. But never mind. I'll buy you the tie and gloves.
No, that's all right. She'll buy them right enough. Goodbye.
Dearest B, I have had some time now to consider the events of last year to which I alluded in previous letters. I am ready to apprise you of the conclusion. The rest of the story would hardly need telling if imaginations were not so enfeebled by a lazy dependence on the ready-makes and reach-me-downs of the rag shop in which romance keeps its stock of happy endings with which to misfit all stories. You must, of course, realize that, in telling me she would not marry me, even if I asked her, Eliza was not coquetting. She was announcing a well-considered decision. In proclaiming that determination, she of course echoed my own feelings on the matter. At the time, I had great reservations about young Eynsford Hill, who was pouring out his love for her through the Daily Post. The unavoidable disaster is that he is young and has no character to speak of. If he tried to do any useful work, some competent person would only have the trouble of undoing it, a procedure involving a net loss to the community, and great unhappiness, no doubt, to Freddie himself. Of course we must allow that, superficially at least, he is a gentleman, or, as Eliza would qualify him, a toff, and has no means of financial support. He is obviously intended by nature for such light work as amusing Eliza, which is a more useful and honourable occupation than working in the city. In addition, it appears that he loves her unaffectedly. He is not her master, nor ever likely to dominate her, in spite of his advantage of social standing. This suits Eliza, who, thanks to my early interventions, has no use for the foolish romantic fiction that all women love to be mastered. She sees in Freddie an ideal spouse, in that she does not look forward to a lifetime of fetching his slippers, but to a lifetime of Freddie fetching hers. Thus, Freddie and Eliza, now Mr. and Mrs. Eynsford Hill, were married, and they would have spent a penniless honeymoon but for a present of £500 from the Colonel to Eliza. It was in fact the Colonel who reintroduced the idea of Eliza keeping a flower shop. When they broke the matter to me one evening, I was in favour of the scheme, but an innocent comment of mine led to an unexpected quarrel with Eliza. I had merely noted that it all had the happy advantage that she would have, in Freddie, the ideal errand boy. Neither the errand boy nor the flower girl, as it turned out, were commercially adept. Colonel Pickering had to explain to them what a cheque-book and a bank account meant. Poor old Pick. The pair were by no means easily teachable. Freddie backed up Eliza in her obstinate refusal to believe that they could save money by engaging a bookkeeper with some knowledge of the business. Pick gently insisted, and eventually Eliza grasped the fact that business, like phonetics, has to be learned. For my part, I contributed to the adventure by instructing her in calligraphy, and thus ensuring she developed a most uncommercial hand, considered by all to be a remarkable extension of her personal beauty. My mother, who has admirable personal beauty, intelligence, grace, dignity of character without harshness, cultivates a sense of the best art of her time. She continues to make her house a social magnet. She sets a standard against which very few women can struggle. She perseveres in her patronage of Freddie's mother, Mrs. Eynsford Hill. They regularly share tea, during which the elder Eynsford Hill unburdens herself of her feelings and concerns about her adult children. Neither of her children have followed the path she set for them, as she sees it at great personal sacrifice to herself. My mother indulges this, and kindly countenances and counsels that one must eventually let go of one's young charges. No Galatia will ever love their Pygmalion if ensnared by existential expectations. Eliza's father, Doolittle, has much to say on this, and every other subject. He continues to be the most original moralist presently at work in England. His lecturing for the Wanafella Moral Reform World League has taken on a life of its own, with his access to an ever-growing audience. Though formerly a dustman, and now fantastically disclassed, he has become extremely popular in the smartest society by a social talent which triumphs over every prejudice and every disadvantage. Rejected by the middle class, which he loathes, he has shot up into the highest circles by his wit, his dustmanship, which he carries like a banner, and his Nietzschean transcendence of good and evil. At intimate ducal dinners he sits on the right hand of the duchesses, and in country houses he drinks in the pantry and is made much of by the butler when he was not feeding in the dining room and being consulted by cabinet ministers. He confides in all comers that his new life, entangled as it is with the Ezra D. Wanafella Predigested Cheese Trust, is more onerous and taxing than that of a dustman, so that he has no choice but to absolutely refuse to add the last straw to his burden by contributing to Eliza and Freddie's support. Freddie's sister Clara, in the course of her incursions into those artistic circles which were the highest within her reach, discovered that her conversational qualifications were expected to include a grounding in the novels of Mr. H.G. Wells. She borrowed them in various directions so energetically that she swallowed them all within 2 months. The result was a conversion of a kind quite common today. Mr. H.G. Wells lifted her onto the point of his puissant pen, and placed her at the angle of view from which the life she was leading and the society to which she clung appeared in its true relation to real human needs and worthy social structure. Clara's snobbery went bang. To her amazement, she found that some quite nice people were saturated with Wells, and that this accessibility to ideas was the secret of their niceness. She had made up her mind that, cost what it might, she would see Mr. Wells in the flesh, and she had achieved her end at a garden party. She had better luck than so rash an enterprise deserved. Mr. Wells came up to her expectations. Age had not withered him, nor could custom stale his infinite variety in half an hour. His unaffected accessibility, and a certain fine apprehensiveness which stamped him as susceptible from his topmost hair to his tipmost toe, proved irresistible. Clara talked of nothing else for weeks and weeks afterwards. As time has passed, and the flower business flourishes, it is astonishing to me how much Eliza still manages to meddle in the housekeeping here at Wimpole Street, in spite of the shop and her own family. Although I have no forensic proof, I have long suspected that she and Mrs. Pierce conspire to thwart some of the more comfortable aspects of my and Pickering's idyllic bachelor's existence, as two respected men of academic and material means. She loves the Colonel as if she were his favourite daughter, but she stands up to me so ruthlessly that the Colonel has to ask her from time to time to be kinder. Despite this, Wimpole Street continues to be a refuge of phonetics and good sense. Though society exists on rules of hierarchy, status, and atrocious grammar, behind these doors a meritocracy of intellectual fellowship prevails. Eliza, Pick, Mrs. P. and I will always enjoy safe harbour, if not ascendancy, in each other's company. Your friend, H.H.